What's going on? This is the Baby Boomer Bitcoin Anarchist podcast. I am your co-host Ryan Hoppy. I am here with Steve Styles. What's up, man?
Hey, how you doing, Ryan?
I am doing good. I can't believe it's been a week since we did our last episode. There's a lot going on in the world of Bitcoin. Frankly, there's a lot going on in the world in general. A lot has happened in the last week. So let's get right into it. What's been going on?
Well, one of the things is Bitcoin as an adoption for an asset is JP Morgan and Wells Fargo are using it for some of their products, introducing it to their clients, as well as other investment houses as well. So that's pretty exciting for Bitcoin.
And what do you think this means for the future of it? Is this a good or bad thing?
Well, of course, I think Bitcoin is going to literally change the world. Bitcoin is separating money from the state. And I think that that's a good thing. People, the powers that be, cannot manipulate Bitcoin as it does fiat money or credit based money, such as the US dollar. So, yeah, that's a very good thing.
How many of your friends have you been able to recently convert to Bitcoin? Because you're a very passionate guy about it, and it's something that you live and breathe. So, have there been any people you've been able to convert to it lately?
Yes, you're right. I'm excited about it. I do convert it. What's interesting is people from the past who thought I was crazy a few years ago are starting to take Bitcoin more seriously than I do now. I think that that's a very important development. And they don't look at it as a joke or some of my little novelties that I have.
That's got to be a good feeling because you talk about it a lot and you're very passionate about it. And I don't really think you care like what other people think, but it has to be a good feeling to know that something that you're passionate about is becoming legitimate by the day.
Yeah, in other words, people don't think I'm crazy.
Yeah.
That's a good thing to have. Yeah.
What are some things that you think about when it comes to Bitcoin that some people may not know? The last few weeks we've covered a lot of different topics, but over the last week, has there been something that you've thought about when it comes to Bitcoin that maybe you haven't expressed yet?
Well, we've talked about the past how email was adopted for use in simple correspondence using the post office. And I think in the next couple of years, Bitcoin will be adopted as money universally in the United States, as it's being done in Argentina now and Ecuador and some South African states around. And even here, oh yeah, I forgot. Donald Trump, who originally said he has no use for Bitcoin, it's the US dollar that he supports, blah, 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 has reversed his opinion on it. And that's important because a lot of people follow his dictates. Everything is doing very well. Politics of it, or the lack of politics, is getting involved, and it's not determined by the political party or the philosophy of the politics in general.
Why do you think Trump is now a fan of it?
Well, they realize the dollar is in serious trouble. I mean, it's inflated, doesn't have much standing in the world today. Brexit, and I think Trump sees the writing on the wall.
Why do you think, because he's a very captivating guy, but why do you think so many people follow him? And I'm not getting political with this, but it's like, it does feel like whenever he says something, he's like the original influencer. And it's very fascinating because there's a lot of people that love or hate that guy. He might be one of the most talked about people of all time.
Well, that's true. I'm not a big fan of any of these politicians, but you're right. He has a big influence on a lot of people, and that's just demonstrating that the adoption of Bitcoin becoming further along in the world today.
It's cool to hear. I know you've been doing Bitcoin for about 15 years now. Looking back on the last decade and a half, if you would have told yourself in 2009 when you first got it where Bitcoin would be now, would you have believed it?
I'm not sure I would have believed it. When I first discovered Bitcoin is because I didn't know what it was about, and I lost a debating competition as a coach in China when I was working in China as a coach, and we lost a major competition for British parliamentary debating because I, as a coach, didn't know what Bitcoin was. And so I researched it and I went down that rabbit hole and I discovered that this is very cool, especially because of my libertarian leanings. I thought it was going to be the future. I didn't know how fast or what degree it was, but now people are starting to have a little bit more respect for me and certainly more respect for Bitcoin.
Now, when you think about Bitcoin and the future it has, have you ever considered maybe writing a book about it?
Well, the book, if you notice behind me, there's a little poster, The Demise of the Nation State and the Rise of Bitcoin. That is a book, the title of a book that I'm in the process of writing about it. I believe that Bitcoin will separate money from the state, just as the printing press separated the church from the state. When Gutenberg invented the press, and it separated the church, which had a virtual monopoly on writing books in monasteries. And now books are commonplace and they're not so expensive to write. Money is going to be separated from the state. Maybe it's not going to be protest money like Protestant was. I think that's an analogy that's appropriate. So, yes, the book would be The Demise of the Nation State and the Rise of Bitcoin. Not something I think that's going to be in the future, but it's something that's happening right now as we speak, separating, because it's very easy for individuals to control their Bitcoin, but it's not easy for the state to tax it. And therefore, if they don't have steady flow of taxation and the ability to inflate money, then simply the state will wither away. Anyway, that's my story, and I'm sticking to it.
What do you think would happen if the state withered away?
Well, we would have some people call it anarchy, but when I say anarchy, I mean we don't simply have government where it's coercive and violent and authoritarian. We have basically local capitalism, free market, or as the French would say, laissez-faire capitalism, which we use anyway. And if you think about it, we use it anyway in our daily lives. We trade, we exchange in a non-coercive manner. If you buy something on Amazon or even in a department store, you get it back and you get your monies back. There's nobody forcing you to do that. They do it voluntarily. Even riding in a car or driving a car, there's nothing, even though there are rules about it, nobody's enforcing the rules on a micro basis. And people do what's in their best interest to do on a daily basis, just as they do every other aspect of their lives. So government, at best, is interfering with the freedom of people. People basically want security, but they also they become to realize that security involves you to have freedom and responsibility for yourself. And Bitcoin, separating the state and money, allows that for individual people or community-based people. So you always have community-based people. You always have community. You always have a country. somebody said to me the other day, they said, "Oh, you really hate America, don't you?" And you know what I said to him? I said, "No, I really love America. That's why I hate the government." That's my answer.
I love whenever you go against what the everyday person is supposed to believe. Like, I personally don't vote. And I love how if I tell people I don't vote, they say I don't love this country or I should move somewhere else. And it's like, no, because I love the freedom and I love living in America so much, I don't want to vote for Trump or Biden.
And that's my story as well.
And
So,
you're gonna stick with it.
yeah. But I truly love America. I think America is a great, some of the founding fathers, like Jefferson, and the founding fathers, and even before the Constitution, the Mayflower Compact and all this stuff represents how people can come together for freedom.
What I love about America that I find fascinating is that it's a young country. Think about that. Like, I am 1/8 of the country. I am 30 years old. The country's about 240 years old. Like, if you think about it, it's so weird to think about. America's not that old.
Ryan, that's very true. That's an important point. And people realize that it's a young country.
Do you think, not that I'm not asking are we on the right track or not, but I just often wonder, because it's so young, if this country's working or not. Because we're just born into it and we live day by day. But there's times, like, I'm not saying I don't like America. There's times I don't know if it's working or not. I feel like it's a big experiment.
I think many people confuse America for its government. The government is just an institution of people that control many aspects of American life and world life. But it's just a group of people who have power and the power of the gun.
What I'm curious about, I've been thinking about this, is when you're going to have your first millennial president and your first Gen Z president. Because I don't even know if we've had a Gen X president, because I think Obama's a boomer. He's like a borderline boomer, Gen X. So I'm wondering, I've often been thinking about that. I'm like, what's next after 2024, going into 2028, 2032? I've been thinking about that.
Well, that's an interesting question, but my answer to that is nobody.
Why is it nobody?
Well, again, I think nobody of any significance. I don't think the president of the United States or the Senate or the Congress will be a significant part of our everyday lives, especially if they can't tax us like they're doing now and they're like to plan to do it. I mean, they even talk about having tariffs. Well, tariff is going to indirectly tax Americans. If an American product is being produced in China and it eventually gets to America, that's factored into the price of China, the price of the product and stuff. Who's going to pay for that? The Americans. So I think just like the post office is becoming insignificant in American life, hopefully Washington, D.C. will become insignificant in life. Maybe it won't go away, but maybe it'll create the demise of most of the state.
That's a good post office. I haven't been to a post office besides picking up mail maybe in 10 years.
Well, remember we talked about that last time. To have a letter, you have to write the letter on paper. You have to fold it in thirds. You have to get in an envelope, stick it in the envelope. You have to lick the envelope. You have to put a stamp on it. If you don't have a stamp, you stand in line at the post office to get the damn stamp. And then maybe they have machines now, so they have automated stamp. So you get the stamp, you still have to stick it on the envelope, and then you send it, and maybe in 4 or 5 days, it will be sent at the time. Now what do? This total anarchy. You send an email. If you don't have an email, you can create one right now. As we're speaking, we can create an email. It's no cost to us, and we can send it, and it instantaneously gets there. That's what Bitcoin is going to do for money.
What do you think about Amazon? Because I've had this fascinating thing. I've heard that Jeff Bezos, when you sell things on Amazon, that he keeps most of the money and that he's selfish and whatnot. But my goodness, is that man, I don't want to say he inspires me, but there's a video of him from 1999 where he's being interviewed by this reporter, and he's driving a beat up car, and he was already a millionaire, and he has his office spray painted as Amazon.com, and the guy's making fun of him, and he goes on to be one of the most powerful men ever. And to me, that inspires me that I know his parents and his ex-wife helped fund it, but there's something to be said about the fact that he created Amazon. For example, I literally will buy things on Amazon and it's at my door the next day. I'll buy something on eBay and it took 12 days because I had to go through the post office or FedEx. There's something to be said. Even though Jeff Bezos isn't a great guy, he did create an empire.
Well, there's a lot to unpack there, right there. You're thinking is a selfish guy. Maybe he is a selfish guy. So what? He's not coercing anybody. He's not intimidating anybody. If you want to buy something on Amazon, there's reason to do it. You just described the reasons to do it. It's fast, it's efficient, and not only is on your day, on your door the next day, if you want to return it, you can return it the next day and get your money back pretty much instantaneously, just like he done with the email. So regardless of what his faults are or what his motivation is, we do business with Amazon freely, and we do it because it's in our best interest, our selfish best interest to do it. God bless them. That's what I say.
What did you think about Amazon when it first came out about 25 years ago?
I'm not sure because I didn't think it was significant. All he talked about was selling books. And I loved books, so I'll probably do business with books. Now I get vitamins from him, food from him, and books. And hopefully in the near future, the demise of the nation state and the rise of Bitcoin, I'll be selling it on Amazon too.
I know that's going to happen and it will be a bestseller. When it comes to the process of writing a book, is it as easy, hard, or in the middle as you thought it would be?
Well, the key word is process. I'm in the process of doing it, and all the above.
Yeah.
It's tough because the discipline of doing it. I have a lot of notes around it. We talked about some of the things that we're talking about in the podcast today, and all of the above. Takes a lot of discipline to write a book.
So I'm a zillennial because I'm like a later millennial, born in 93, and I've dated girls that are Gen Z, so I have a little bit of Gen Z in me, but I also have Gen X interests. What I'm saying is I represent like a few different generations, and we have a lot of listeners that are Gen Z, baby boomers, of all generations, but specifically speaking to the younger crowd, what would be some advice you would give us about getting into Bitcoin?
Well, I suggest that you go on YouTube, check out some of the videos on YouTube for Bitcoin for beginners, and get yourself some or part of a Bitcoin, whatever you can afford. Don't sell your house for it, but get involved with it. And I think it's the future of money, and especially in your case, the future of retirement in the future.
I recently had a family member that passed, and he left us his money, and we're going to invest. I shouldn't get into it, but I've been definitely thinking, like, man, I should put some of that money into Bitcoin. I've been thinking about it. And a few people that I see at kava bars that also have put their money in Bitcoin that are like around my age, it just seems like it's the thing to do right now. It just feels like it's what everyone's talking about.
Well, maybe it is, but I think it's a good thing to do.
Yeah. So we have a few minutes left here. There's some thoughts that the shows fly by, and we record once a week, and then we have to wait another week. I see you every day at the kava bar, and we're friends, but once a week we get to record this show. So what are some things that you feel like maybe we haven't covered in the past, or that you want to cover right now?
Well, I'd like to go into more detail on how Bitcoin is going to influence the society at large, the world society, and the process of creating it, just as email did for correspondence in the
So how do you
future.
think that's going to go about?
By making it extremely challenging for the state and the government to collect taxes and coerce people out of their money. And that's, in a nutshell, what I'm talking about.
Yeah, I'm curious to see how it's going to go with taxes come in the future, because I feel like it's very underground right now, and it's kind of a secret thing, and I'm kind of just waiting to see when the government catches on to it.
Well, they already catches on. Maybe you don't realize this, Ryan, but the second largest institution that holds Bitcoin is the U.S. government.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
I learn something every day.
Yeah. If you check it out, because they confiscated it from the dark web, people were doing so-called money laundering, which money laundering is always is when you do something that the government doesn't approve of with money.
I've often wondered, all the car washes here in St. Petersburg, Florida, that are pretty empty. I've often wondered if that's money laundering.
Well, maybe it is, but it's a wash.
Literally.
Hey, thanks, Ryan, for doing the show with me. It's a lot of fun doing it, and I look forward to doing it next week as well.
Yes, sir. And everybody can go to all the podcasting platforms and type in Baby Boomer Bitcoin Anarchist. Beginning after this show, we will have the archive of all of the 3 episodes up. And then on the podcast description, we will have the link to the TV feature for this show. And for everybody listening, if you want to check out my show, type in HOPPE Radio on all the podcasting platforms.
Well, we should do that. I'm going to do that myself. Thanks, Ryan.
Thank you, sir.